Welcome to this episode of CyberWins. My name is Jimmy Bartolo, and I'm really proud today to have Pritam Rakshit as joining us today for this episode. Pritam is currently CISO at Cuscal Limited and has held a number of high-profile security roles across other financial services organizations and also utility companies like Westpac, Ausgrid, MBN Australia. As well as that, he's been an academic high achiever with an executive MBA from the Quantic and executive education from MIT Sloan. So welcome, Pritam. How are you today?
Thanks, mate. It's good to for the opportunity to have a more open conversation. And it's Friday, so it can't go wrong. Given the World Cup going pretty well as well, I'm quite happy Argentina is progressing to the final, being a supporter of that.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm on Spain for what it's worth. But anyway, so what's it like being a CISO in today's connected world with AI kind of changing the way that all of us work today?
Look, I'll start saying that cybersecurity should not be the brake on the business. It should be provide the confidence that allow the business to move faster and safely. In financial industry, particularly in payment, trust is not just an additional feature, it's part of the product at the end of the day.
Mm.
The client and customer expect money to move safely, service are steady, and organization to respond effectively when something goes wrong. The way I think about it is that the CISO's role is to bring the three things together: the business ambition, operational resiliency, and responsible risk taking. Cyber cannot remove every risk, ultimately, as we all know. Our role is to make the risk visible, help the organization make informed decision, and ensure we are ready to respond when something does not go to our plan.
And so what's the most challenging thing in getting all those three kind of areas all kind of cohesive and, kind of moving, all aligned and moving in the same direction from your experience?
I think the way I see it, it is quite important to firstly understand all three dynamic and having a balanced view, because it cannot have everything go in the same pace. So there has to be some compromise you have to make, because ultimately cyber is important, compliance is important, but we're here to make money and provide service to our client and customer and gain the trust and confidence from them.
Mm. And that balance between like risk and speed, and then ultimately, obviously, generating revenue and money is always a balancing act in my experience.
Yes. And which is the reason the way I think about it is speed without trust is definitely fragile, but trust without the speed can make the organization not relevant, right? So I do not believe the choice in between moving quickly and being secure. The real challenge is building the right guardrail on team can move quickly without creating hidden risk.
Yeah.
Those guardrail helps you to make a clear decision, having a clear security patterns and all those different cyber hygienes we have got, so people can actually repeat the same practice, so you can bring that balance, and as a result of that it gives you a good and provide a right balance and maintain quite a good posture. But at the same time, it gives the business a commercial point of view, make a decision in informed position, how to go about that, right? How big is the risk is within our appetite or not? The mistake the organization sometimes make is bringing cyber into the conversation just before a product is launched or a major decision has already been made. At that point, security can only identify a problem rather than help the design a better outcome. So for me, the speed of trust, I call it, is reached when business technology cyber team have enough clarity to make decision quickly and everyone understand the condition and the ownership and the remaining risk. So in practice, the good cyber does not make every decision slower. It makes difficult decision clearer and faster. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think my experience has been that you really need to consider security right at the beginning, kind of embryonic stages of whatever that idea is or that product. The earlier that you bring it in, obviously, generally, the better the outcome, I think, that you achieve at the end of that. Has that been your experience also?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
100%.
fantastic.
Yep,
Fantastic. All right, let's just change gears a little bit. So, like, you've obviously had a storied career across security, across multiple industry verticals and multiple companies. Like, when you sit back and reflect on your kind of security and cyber career, is there like a particular cyber win that you've had that really stands out and makes you very proud?
100%. I can, I probably cannot count all of them, but the simplest way I would probably say that the outcome I'm proudest are not always the largest technology program or the cyber program. They are just a moment when business become the part of the organization's everyday operating rhythm, right? Like cyber is part of the DNA is embedded. It is when a product team brings the security into the design conversation rather than waiting until just before the product is launched. When an engineer identifies a security issue and raise it without waiting to be asked, or executive challenge, challenges a green status because the underlying risk does not feel right.
Mm,
Um, and it is when the business understand the incident response is something we do together, not something we delegate entirely to the cyber team. What we have learned was that lasting change does not come only from a new technology or new policy. It comes when people understand why cyber matters to their own role and feel confident to take the action at the end of
mm.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The important distinction is that people do not all need to become a security expert. They need to recognize the risk early and know when to ask for people or anyone for help and understand what action they can take.
Mm.
Technology matters, but the deeper achievement is changing how the organization think and act for me.
Yeah. Okay.
And cyber culture, we all talk about the cyber culture, but in my simple takeaway is that a mature cyber culture is not the one where everyone become a security expert. It is one where people recognize the risk early and know what to do next. That's where I feel that I take the pride because it means I've done my job where I've baked in the cyber and the risk culture within the organizational DNA. They're thinking as an upfront, not as a last thing.
Yeah. And so as the leader when it comes to cyber across the organizations that you've worked for, like what are some tactics or approaches that you've used with the various stakeholders to ensure they really understand, why cyber matters and why it's super important to have kind of cyber part of kind of the whole life cycle of a particular engagement. Is there anything that you've done in your career that has really worked and helped bring along other stakeholders along the way?
Frankly, I don't think there is a one single formula will work within that ecosystem. What I found is during the conversation, you need to understand what that individual you're talking or the group of people you're talking, what they're trying to achieve first, right? What's the objective? What's the ambition? And what is the organization benefit? And following that is navigating the conversation and understand where are the pitfall and making them understand the risk position by doing X, the Y is the implication. And it's a journey, right? And once you take the people along the journey and make them understand what can go wrong as a result of that, what's the organizational impact? Because we all work for the organization, not for an individual. And once we got that understanding and we actually collectively try to put each other's shoes ourselves and have that cohesive, more as a combined journey,
Yeah.
you'll see that the cyber or any risk conversation become embedded on the ecosystem by default. So you don't need to any go further to go, okay, we need to tackle in a different way. That's my experience, and it's all situations are different, frankly speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And like you mentioned up front, just around how critically important it is to have like security just kind of part of that initial design and upfront. Again, through your kind of career and your key kind of cyber wins, uh, are there any approaches that you've used to ensure that security is really at the early stages and that it's embedded in the overarching product? And that way, you really truly understand the risk as it kind of moves through? Is there anything that you've done that really works for you?
So I'll probably use a one particular example that worked probably better than anything. That is firstly raising the awareness of is the quite critical, because people need to know what is the expectation. And also part of the various process, and this is where it's not a silo approach, like we need to ourselves embed as a cyber bodies within the business ecosystem to understand how business operate, understand their process, and within that process, how to bring the simplification. That's the key. Once you bring the simplification, the adoption rate goes quite high. And as an example, if I use like most of the organization now using Jira for a sprint as an example, like to stay top of their mind, we actually baked in an automation within that. Whenever a new initiative get created, the secure by design concept comes in a flash with a specific guardrail that what they need to think and consider. So it's pretty much in front of them as soon as they create, its default position is there, without not knowing what's the functional and the non-functional requirement. And as a result, like when the initiative owner or a project about to kick off, they know that these are the different things they have to consider in the ecosystem. And as a result of that, it started building the sense of importance of that. And they go, okay, right now I can see. And along the journey is also is key to explain the applicability of those various guardrails, because some people, like not everyone going to understand. And this is why I say that there has to be a very close partnership, what I mentioned, between the business, cyber, operation, risk, all of this cross-functionally, that partnership is the key. And once you bring all of this together and simplification of the process, rather than giving a nice long spreadsheet, which traditionally we all used to do with various audit or various other, project initiative.
Yeah.
And that's where the psychologically any human being, we just push them away. So more, and this is where I always tell my team and myself how I can simplify things from a cyber point of view, bring the agility and the speed for the business to grow quickly, organically, without creating a bottleneck. And more I actually understand the process means I can actually embed those things more practically. As a result of that, the adoption rate going to go high. So therefore, you automatically start building the whole cyber into the DNA.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that kind of philosophy of like security by design, that philosophy of kind of bringing all of the teams and stakeholders together is so relevant, I think, in this day and age, and not just within technology and security, but like you look at the World Cup going on at the moment, like if you are not aligned as a team from management, coaches, players, etc., then it's really hard to be successful in a team environment. And all of us obviously work in team environments every single day, from home life to things. So that's really good. You've mentioned guardrails now a few times, and I think it's such a hot topic now, particularly with the advent of AI and a lot of the work that's going on now, and with use cases moving from exploratory proof of value to now more kind of production scale. But obviously, there's the whole concept around AI guardrails as well. So, how do you think about AI or guardrails in this kind of new cyber world and AI and everything else that's going on? Do you have a perspective on kind of guardrails and risk, etc., and how that all kind of fits together?
Can I actually respond this in a two different perspective, right? I've got a traditional approach, and then there is a in light of AI, how the world is moving, right?
100%. Yeah, that sounds good.
So I think traditionally the cyber function in many organizations in the industry has been seen as a compliance-driven function, right? I think that the important distinction for me is when we're asking the question, did we pass the audit? And asking the question, can you continue to operate when something goes wrong, right? And compliance matter, don't get me wrong, like it is quite important. And this is where the guardrail conversation most of the time we spin up during any conversation with the business. Oh, you need to do because of APRA CPS 234 or a PCI DSS, all those different acronyms and terms we put in front of the business. For me, that guardrail, it is important, but that's not the end state. So we need to think a bit differently, right? For me, it's like if something serious happened on Friday night, right? And it's Friday, hopefully nothing happens.
Yeah.
Do we know which services matter most? Who need to make decision? What data may be affected? How quickly we can contain and recover, right? So if the answer is clear and practice, that means you are actually not winning the guardrail. You're building the resiliency, ultimately. In a way, also, if the answer is yes, like we'll work it out when it happens, this is just only confidence on paper if you just go by the heavy past audit. So it is quite important. Compliance does tell you the control exists, but the resiliency tells you whether it worked when it needed the most. So therefore, that's the first part of the guardrail point of view, one lens, and also building the resiliency. And that's pretty much most of the time you're doing it in the industry. And when it comes to the AI, I think again the guardrail is important, but it comes with few things we need to consider in the overall AI point of view, because there's a lot of noise going around, like AI can do break your environment and all of that. So but we need to convert that concept rather than just a risk, how we can see that as an opportunity as well, right? Because it's a two-speed economy, because it's obviously speed and scale is there. Yes, it's closing your defense versus attack point of view, the closing the window, because how it can expedite. And therefore the attackers point of view, their window or the investment also getting a lot more less, where defender expenditure going high, right? So saying that the important distinction is that AI does not replace the need for good cyber foundation, ultimately. Still those guardrails and everything still matter. If you have got the good cyber hygiene, right, and if you maintain that, still they need to do the chaining of the attack, like the mythos. We heard about the terminology, like an Anthropic coming with the mythos is a very brilliant model. It's just a model, but it doesn't have the context. It still needs the context, and therefore they need to change the attack. So still the foundation matter. Still it works as a really good preventative capability. And this is where the guardrail is in AI world is quite important to understand. Have you got my basic right to start with? That's my first takeaway. The second one is that, yes, we need to patch, but you know what? You can't patch everything. There has to be a balanced approach, right? And this is where it goes back to the speed of economy from the business point of view, how the guardrail point of view, how we can actually make a more informed position, how we can actually make things better. And within that, the patching point of view, we need to work it out how quickly we can patch rather than how much those vulnerable information or the risk position from that, is it within our risk appetite or not? That's the key question we got to answer ourselves within that whole like AI guardrail point of view.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously there is a various NIST and other framework is there, people need to use it, but still the foundation still matters. And that's why I think the guardrail is quite critical, but we got to think a bit more differently, how we can convert that guardrail into an opportunistic position and also start using in our favor as a defensive manner to do a faster triage, faster vulnerability prioritization, or and actually we can prevent or mitigate or fix it. And if we can start doing that, that means that whole AI-related cyber risk concept and the guardrail we are talking about, it all get diluted because you don't even think about that after that, because you feel like it's another technology, because we went through the internet age and various like blockchain. AI is also another hype. That's how I see it in holistically.
Yeah, it's we're at a very interesting juncture, no question. I think you raise your point around like compliance versus resiliency is like really so relevant. And like, I come from a strong kind of operations and service management background, and that's kind of been key. Well, you made the kind of comment that you don't think that AI will be able to replace good cyber posture or cyber hygiene. So where do you think, I mean, looking forward, where do you think really AI is going to play and add value when it comes to cyber and security and everything moving forward over the next 5 or 10 years?
I see the journey developing through three stages, like human-led and tool-assisted. Secondly, again, human-led and AI augmented. And the third one is the control agentic workflow, where AI can recommend or perform carefully the bounded action. They're the three stages, I think. And the key word is in here is the controlled, right? In financial services, or even in a payment industry, we need clear authority limit, traceability, and human oversight, and the ability to reverse an AI driven action. The practical test for me is like, can AI help us see, decide, or respond faster without removing accountability or allowing the speed to overrun the judgment? And as soon as we can answer that question, right, therefore we know that yes, the AI can actually give you the scalability and the speed point of view, what you need to achieve. And that opportunity risk, you started realizing it.
And do you think those three phases, do they happen sequentially, one after the other, or are they all happening right now in parallel?
Um, it depends. Look, it's gonna happen as a stage approach. That's my feeling at this
Yeah.
point, looking at the industry, how they're moving, because I think there are certain part of the industry, which is the research body, may actually go a bit more faster. But then adoption rate point of view, it may most likely going to get sequential manner, because there's a lot of still unknown, how to operate, how to operationalize, how to actually get the real value out of it. There's still a lot of use cases and other things need to be developed and proven before a lot of organization can start adopting that. So
Yeah.
the some organization obviously going to go fast, and they, as a stage point of view, they're most likely going to go, you know, start going to the agentic world and all of that. But certain use cases, you need to go like it's still the human oversight, regardless. You need to have that. Without that, there would be some other issues and complication going to come into the picture.
Yeah, the whole human in the loop thing is kind of very commonly discussed at the moment. And so particularly given you're in financial services at the moment, so you obviously still believe there's going to be a role for human in the loop at some point, regardless how much we get to use AI moving forward in the cyber world.
It's 100%. I don't think we will ever would be in that definite position we can remove the human from the loop, because ultimately, yes, they can go faster than a human brain can process. That's given. But ultimately, the context and the intent of the output before the AI can produce that, human still need to provide that input. And when the output comes, someone need to validate that. Is it actually meeting my intent and the use cases I've actually and the output I was expecting? And therefore, in input and output and in both, and you need this someone individually as a human being to actually validate that the tool cannot or AI cannot do that for you,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's just a
absolutely.
model.
Yeah.
The way I see that, if you consider a F1 Formula racing, within that, someone building the engine, someone actually, the crew is actually changing the tire. Yeah, your engine could be good, doesn't matter, which is brilliant. You've got a brilliant engine, but ultimately, that is a model. The person who's driving and collectively all the different components coming together, that actually make you win the race in Formula One, not just the engine itself. In this context, all this Mythos and AI is just the engine. We still need the
Yeah.
rest of the component to fit together to win the race.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the point we made earlier. Like it ultimately it's a team effort. You can't rely on any one individual component, just like your F1 analogy there, because you can have the best car, but if your driver or vice versa is not up to, kind of up to pace, then obviously can't be successful. It's even
Yep.
more relevant this year. While I'm not a Formula One buff, but I know they've made some rule changes and it's flipped everything on its head. But believe it or not, Pritam, we've kind of come to an end of this conversation, and it's been really insightful. I guess for me, if you were talking to someone coming into cyber right now who are just kind of starting their career, based on everything you've just spoken about there over the last 20 minutes, like what do you think would be some of the most important skills that they should focus on to really kind of add value in this new kind of AI powered cybersecurity world?
Look, one thing I believe the foundation is quite critical. Whoever coming new, I know AI can actually make your life easier. It can actually develop a code for you, do a lot of things, but don't just completely rely on AI. Learn the foundation at the first place. Because in my career, I started purely on the foundational side, where I've learned how to do a reverse engineering of the malware. I've started with the engineering background, because once you actually build up the basic foundational information and expertise, it helps you to grow. And there, as a result, when you move into the management or actually doing the cyber, you can see the 360-degree view. You can easily translate that technically and the complex thinking what's going behind the scene in a business context. If you're not actually starting from the scratch and you're solely going by, yes, AI going to teach me everything and going to do everything for me, you're going to eventually going to struggle, because if there is an incident happen, if you have to decouple or you actually reverse engineer what exactly went wrong, it would be very difficult to get to the conclusion.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation that I've been having with my kids quite a bit over the last couple of years, particularly, right? And yeah, I think we share kind of a similar view there. It's really important to have a strong foundation, that you can then use, I guess, into all aspects of your working life and also your personal life moving forward. But Pratam, unfortunately, we have come to an end. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much, and
Thank
have a
you.
great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.